everyone. We are coming to you live via Facebook streaming, via YouTube streaming, and also via Skype online. Each one of you is welcome to this live streaming. We are continuing with the breath oriented techniques of Vigyan Bhairav Tantra as explained by Shiva to Devi. The third technique also relates to breathing. The first I explained when the incoming breath comes in, reaches the solar plexus, lying between the nostril and the solar plexus. Before it makes it upward turn, there is a pause. Be aware of that pause. The second technique, which was slightly different, when you turn, when the breath, incoming breath reaches the solar plexus, it makes a U-turn to go up, and then when it reaches the nostril, it makes a U-turn again. So the breath movement is circular. Between these two U-turns there is a parallel line. Be aware at the moment of turn. The third technique is when the incoming breath starts from the nostril, reaches the solar plexus, and the outgoing breath begins, they fuse. There is an instant touch of the two breaths. Although they are not two, but yet still their movement makes it different from one another. One is upward moving or outward, the other is inward. At this instant touch, you reach the point which is energy less, energy filled center. Two ways of saying the same thing. Either you say the glass is half empty, or you say the glass is half full. Normally, man is divided between the center and periphery. Your body is the periphery. We know the body. We know the periphery. We know the circumference. But we do not know where the center is. We have become almost oblivious of the center, as if the circumference comes into existence without the center. When the outgoing breath fuses with the incoming breath, they become one. When you cannot say whether it is, and at that moment when they fuse, you cannot say that this is outgoing breath or in breath. When it is difficult to demarcate or define whether the breath is going out or coming in, when the breath has penetrated in and starts moving out, there is a moment of fusion. It is neither going out nor going in. Breath becomes static. These techniques are based on very keen observation. Life is a witness, very keen observation, not living on to the surface. When moving out, the breath is dynamic, When it is coming in, it is dynamic. When the breath is silent, no movement, you are very close to the center. The fusion point of the incoming and the outgoing breath is your center. Along using this center, you can draw many circumferences. The physical body is a circumference, the mental is a circumference, intellectual is a circumference, psychological is a circumference. You are an engineer, it is a circumference. So, when you ask someone, I am doctor, so you identify yourself as a doctor. You identify yourself with a particular name. All these are on the surface. If you go deep into, do you really have a name or form or anything? You are formless. To explain this, there is form and as well as formless. Hindus have kept this together to make you aware that you are formless as well as form. Muslims removed the form, they only maintained you are formless. Form disappears. Look at it this way. When breath goes in, where is it going to? What is its destination? What is its destination? Everything from circumference moves to the center. There is a clear route from the circumference to the center via radius. From every point on the circumference, you are connected to the center. You may be oblivious, you may neglect it. But all roads lead to the same destination. It goes to your center. It touches your center, then goes out. And from where does it go out? It moves towards the center and it moves out of center as well. Your center has to be touched. When you are doing the relay race, you are carrying the baton in your hand. The other runner the two must touch the baton, and then the first runner hands over to the second. Your center has to be touched when you are moving from circumference to the center, or when you are moving from center to the circumference. The Taoist masters, Zen mystics, say that head is not the center. What is the center? Center is exactly in the middle. It is through the center that you are connected to the cosmos. And what is the center? Your navel. Through the umbilical cord connected to the two navels, yours to the mother, or mother's navel to yours for nourishment to continue during that period. If you look into, if you just do a mathematical experiment, you will find your navel is exact. And if you draw a circle taking the navel as a center, you will find this circle will be touching your head and toes together. Head is one circumference, toe is another circumference, another part of the circumference. Circumference is the same. You are watching the show, watching this live streaming through Skype, or you take your profile picture, it is in the circle. The whole circle is not shown because you have taken only the image of the burst into the circle, so your head is on the circumference touching it. Navel is the center. Breath goes to the navel, then moves out. It goes to the center. As I said, it is the bridge between you and your body. You know the body, but you do not know where your center is. Draw an imaginary. If you take a measuring tape to know the radius from the center to the top of the head, and from navel to the big toe, or stretch your hands and distance between the navel and the index finger on either hand, you will find the radius the same. I need not do this experiment, but you can if you want. You know your body, but you do not know where the center is. Breath is constantly going to the center and moving out, touching the center and going out. Otherwise, you cannot survive. But we are not taking enough breath. Ordinary, it does not really go to the center. Now at least we are doing the shallow breathing. It is not going to the center, that's why everyone feels off center. That's why when there is an imbalance, it is said, the massages, they say your nara is disturbed. The nara means the center. It is disturbed, either it has gone up or down. So and because of that, there is a physical symptom. So they correct it. Look at the child sleeping and observe his breathing. It goes in and the abdomen comes up and but the chest remains unaffected. The moment you are relaxed, the breath reaches the center. These days I am working on a person for inner healing using the techniques of hypnotism and other corrective techniques like the DNA repair, removal of all the negative tendencies, raising the vibrations, the energy. So the first criteria is person is asked to lie down, relax. The moment the person lies down in that environment, in that energy field, the breathing starts moving to the solar plexus. Abdomen moves up and down. In the beginning, the movement is faster, then it becomes slower and slower. The chest remains unaffected. That's why children have no chest, only abdomen. Very dynamic abdomen. Breath goes in and abdomen comes up because it is filled with the air. Breath goes out. Abdomen goes down because it is emptied. Children are in their center. That is why they are so happy, blissful, never tired, overflowing, and always in the present moment with no past, no future. The entire process of meditation is making you childlike once again. The moment you know the correct art of breathing and the breath starts reaching the center, you are always full of energy. Minor physical tiredness may be there, but that can be removed in a few seconds. A child can be angry. When he is angry, his anger is total. He becomes the embodiment of anger. His anger is also beautiful, like the anger of Raman, the anger of Krishnamurti. People did not understand the anger of Krishnamurti or Raman. It is said, how come that he is enlightened and it still gets angry? He is getting angry on your ignorance. You are missing the opportunity. The anger of an awakened one is the outcome of compassion. Your anger is the outcome of unfulfilled desire. You want to get something and you are not getting it, anger is there. And when something is total, it has its own beauty. You cannot be angry and beautiful at the same time, because when you are angry, your face becomes ugly, because partially is always angry, not only with anger. When you love, you are ugly because again you are partial, fragmentary. You are not total into anything that you do. Look at your face when you are loving someone or making love. Make love in front of the mirror. Look your face at the mirror. It will be ugly, animal-like. Why? You enter into love. It is a conflict. You go on withholding something. You are giving very miserly. Even in your love, you are not total. You do not give yourself completely. A child in his anger and violence is total. His face becomes radiant and beautiful. It is said once a man came to Raman and he asked, "What is the way?" Raman said, "Go in." He again rephrased the question and again asked. Raman said, "Go in." He keep on rephrasing the questions in different ways. Raman continued to say, "Go in, that is the only way." When the man continued, Raman got angry. He took his stick and chased the man out of the compound, outside the gate. Then when he reached the gate, he opened the gate and asked him to get out, closed the gate and came back, smiling. Everyone was surprised to see how Raman could get angry. It is out of compassion. So there is no ugliness, just as child's face becomes radiant and beautiful. He is here and now. His anger is not something concerned with the past or something concerned with the future. He is not calculating, he is just angry. But he is connected to his center. When Raman is connected to his center, Krishnamurti, when he is angry, he is connected to his center. And when you are angry, you are off the center. Whatsoever you do will be total when you are at the center. You are connected to the center. It is like you have a table lamp. It is connected to the electrical outlet. Wherever you move, it will still show its light because it is connected to the electrical outlet. Whenever you are connected to your center, it is like you are connected to the life force, to the electrical outlet, whichever direction you move to, whatever be your action, it will be total act. It will be total. And when you are fragmentary, you are off center. Your every act is bound to be a fragment of yourself. Your totality is not responding in that particular situation. The part is going against the whole. And that is what creates the ugliness. We were all children once. That is why as we grow old, breathing becomes shallow. It never goes to the abdomen. It never touches the navel. If it goes down, moves more, it will become less and less shallow. But it does just touches the chest and goes out. It does not go beyond the chest. That's why we are restless, stressful. You are afraid of the center because if it goes to the center, you have to be total. But you want to be fragmentary in whatever you do. The only way to remain fragmentary is not letting your breath reach the center. you love. If you breathe, if you breathe from the center, it will flow in it totally. You will flow in it. You will flow in love totally. But you are afraid. You are afraid to be so vulnerable that if you are open to someone, you are vulnerable, that you cannot, you may call him your lover, you may call her your beloved, but there is fear in you. The other is there. You are totally vulnerable, open. You do not know what is going to happen. Then you are completely, in another sense, you are afraid to completely give yourself to the other, to someone. You cannot breathe, you cannot take a deep breath, you cannot relax your breathing so that you go to the center. Because the moment breathing goes to the center, the act, whatsoever you are doing, will become total. So, in order not to be total in anything, you breathe shallow. You breathe just at the minimum, not at the optimum. That is why life seems to be lifeless. You are breathing at the minimum. Life will become lifeless. You are living at the lowest note, lowest level of energy. You can live at the optimum, maximum level, then life is overflowing. Then there will be a difficulty. You cannot be a husband, you cannot be a wife. If life is overflowing, everything will become difficult. A Buddha has no father, no mother, no brother. If life is overflowing, love will be overflowing. You cannot stick to one. Then you will be flowing all over. All dimensions will be filled by you. Then mind feels danger. So it is better not to be alive. The more you are dead, you feel secure. The more you are dead, the more everything is in control. You can control and can remain the master. You feel that you are master because you can control. But you can control your anger. You can control your love. You can control everything. But this controlling is possible only if you are breathing at the minimum level, and minimum level of energy is going into you. Everyone must have felt at some time or the other. There are moments when he suddenly changes from minimum to the maximum. You go out to a hill station. Suddenly you are out of the city and out of the prison of it. You feel free. The sky is vast. There is greenery all around, and the height touches the clouds. Suddenly you take a deep breath. You may not have observed it. Now if you go to a hill station, observe. It is not really the hill station that makes the change. But we feel that going to Kashmir or any of the mountain hills makes you, changes everything. In fact, it is your breathing that changes everything. You can experience the same here. You take a deep breath and you say, ah, the breath touches. The breath touches your center, you become total for a moment and everything is blissful. That bliss is coming not from the hill station, instead it is coming from your center. You have suddenly touched it. But you are not aware. You are afraid in this city. Everywhere there is the presence of the others and you are controlling. You could not scream, you could not laugh. What a misfortune. Even if you're at home, you scream. Suddenly you scream, or your child screams, you want to know what is wrong with it. Yes, I feel like screaming at the moment. You could not sing on the street and dance, you are afraid. A policeman was somewhere around the corner and the priest or the judge or the politician or the moralist, someone was just around the corner, so you could not just dance in the street. When you reached the mountain, the hill, suddenly you are free. You and the atmosphere is alone, you are free. Bertrand Russell have said someone, I love civilization, but we have achieved civilization at a very great cost. You cannot dance in the street, but you can go to the hill station and suddenly you dance. Because there is no restrictions. You are alone with the sky. The sky is not an imprisonment, it is just opening, opening and opening, vast, infinite. Suddenly you take a deep breath. It touches the center and bliss overflows. But it is not for long. Within an hour or so, the hill station will disappear. You may be there, but this hill station has disappeared because you are back to your routine. Your worries comes back. You begin to think, to make a call to the city to find out the welfare of the family. You write a letter to your wife or you send him the WhatsApp message. You are going back. Or you will begin to think that since after 3 days you are going back, you should make arrangements. You have just reached, but you are planning, making arrangement to return, to leave, you are back. The breath was not from you really, it suddenly happened. Because of the change of the hill station, the gear has changed. You were in the new situation. You could not breathe the old ways. So for a moment, a new breath came in, it touched the center and you felt blissful. Shiva says, every moment you are touching the center. Or if you are not touching, you can touch it. Take deep, slow breath. Touch the center. Do not breathe from the chest. That is the trick. Civilization, education, morality, they have created shallow breathing in you. It will be good to go deep into the center, because otherwise you cannot take deep breaths. Every morning between 4 and 6, for 2 hours, nearly hour and a half, I do my exercises, breathing. I lie down on my back, keep my hands on my solar plexus, and just allow the breath to go in and out. And it is so intoxicating. Sometimes I may take a nap. So the exercise that could finish in 45 minutes takes 50 minutes. Unless humanity becomes non-suppressive towards sex, man cannot really breathe. If breath goes deep down to the abdomen, it activates the sex center, it touches the sex center. It massages the sex center from within. It becomes more active, more alive. Civilization is always afraid of this. We do not allow our children to touch their sex centers, their sex organs. Every child has a habit of playing at the age of below 7 to play with its own genitals, but we stop them. So children hide in the bathrooms or somewhere and they play with their organs. Look at the child when he first touches his sex centers and you say stop. And then observe his breathing. A child is crying, you say stop. How can the child is crying because his emotions are hurt and you are asking him to stop crying? How can he stop crying? His breathing is the only technique through which he can stop crying. When you say stop, the only way he can stop when he start doing the shallow breathing. This becomes the pattern of life. Because it is not only in his hands which is touching the sex center, deep down the breath is touching it, and if the breath goes and touches it, it's very difficult to stop the hand. If the hand stops, then basically it is necessary, required that breathing should not touch the center, should not go deep. It must remain shallow. We are afraid of sex. The lowest part of our body is not only lower physically, it has become lower as a value. We do not respect the lower extremities. It is condemned as lower. But you remember, lower is the beginning of the higher. Your wall cannot come into the present form without the foundation, the part of the wall that goes below the earth, and it is that which supports. That is the roots. You cannot overlook the roots. They do not appear, but yet still they play a great role. It has become lower in value It is condemned as lower, so do not go deep, just to remain shallow. It is unfortunate that we can only breathe downwards. If some preacher were allowed, they would change the whole mechanism. They will allow you to breathe upward into the head. That is the reason we inhale but we do not exhale, and the toxicity remains within. Then you could absolutely not feel this sex. That's why, in order for that, I had given certain breathing exercises to someone. Breathing in is natural, but breathing out is an effort. When you breathe out, you are activating your solar plexus. If we are to create a sexless humanity, we have to change the breathing system. The breath must go to the head, the 1,000 petal center, then come back to the mouth. It should be the passage from the mouth to the 1,000 petal center. It must not go deep down, because down is dangerous. Deeper you go, nearer you reach to the deepest layer of your biology. You reach to the center, and that is just the sex center. Sex center is just very near. It has to be, because sex is life. Look at the breathing this way. Breath is life. From above downwards. Sex is life from just the other corner, from down upward. Sex energy is flowing, and breath energy is flowing. Breath passage is in the upper body, because from nostril to solar plexus, and from solar plexus to below, is the passage of the sex energy. Breath passage is in the upper part of the body, sex passage in the lower body. When they meet, the breath reaches the solar plexus, and the energy from below reaches the solar plexus. Life is created. When they meet, they create biology, they create the biocenter. If you are afraid of sex, create a distance between the two. You do not allow them to meet. So really civilized man is imputed. That is why we do not know about breath. And this sutra, the fusion of the breath, is difficult to understand. From nostril to solar plexus is one passage. From your sex center, the Mooladhara, the base center, to the solar plexus is a passage. That's where the two energies fuse. Life is created. Whenever in-breath and out-breath fuse, at this instant touch, the energy filled, the energy less center. He uses the contradictory term energy less and energy filled. It is energy less because Your bodies, your mind cannot give energy to it. Your body energy is not there, your mind energy is not there, so it is energy less. As far as you know your identity, but it is energy filled because it has cosmic source of energy, not because of your body energy. Your body energy is the fuel energy. It is nothing but gasoline. You eat something, you drink something, it creates energy. It is just giving fuel to the body. Stop eating and drinking and your body will diminish. Not just now, it will take 3 months. Because you have a reservoir of gasoline. You have accumulated much physical energy. It can run for at least 3 months without going to any gas station. It can run. It has a reservoir for emergency, any emergency you may need. This fuel energy, this is fuel energy. The center is not getting this fuel energy. That is why Shiva says it is energy less, because the fuel energy is not reaching. It is not dependent on your eating or drinking. It is connected with the cosmic source. It is cosmic energy. That is why it is energy less, an energy filled center. The moment you can feel the energy coming into it from the breath, the moment you feel the energy from where breath goes out at the center or comes in, that very point where the two breaths fuse in, if you become aware of it, enlightenment is possible. So this technique, you remember that solar plexus is in the center, one passage, the incoming breath starts from the nostril, reaches the solar plexus and goes out. This is the only passage. This is the existential energy. The other passage is from base center, Mooladhara, to the solar plexus. The two must fuse in to create the life. This is the third technique of breathing. We'll continue on the fourth technique in the next session. These techniques seem to be complicated because so much one has to understand it very clearly, only then it is possible to explain to these. So until then, take care and do have a pleasant day. If you have any question relating to this, you can send it to me and I will try to respond. As far as I go, I try to be very comprehensive in explaining a particular technique as much as possible. As when I see the people and I can just imagine how deep I have to go into, how many examples I have to give to. Sometimes you may wonder why he is giving so many examples, but I have to take care of all those who are available at the moment and who will be available at some, listen to this at a later date. Until then, take care and do have a pleasant day.